We're going to look into some of the Duncan Trussell, Joe Rogan conversation. I always feel like Duncan and Joe are very good friends, and so their conversations are unique. And as you look at all the conversations that Joe Rogan has, he seems to open up with Duncan. They get into some crude, areas, but they also stumble upon some very important areas within their conversation. The nature of evil, the nature of the devil. Is Jesus real? How do we save humanity? These are all topics that emerge in and amongst this dialogue. So I'm going to sift through it, and I'm glad you're with me.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Where did the devil come from?
That's a good question.
Did God make the devil?
What a mean trick.
Right.
Imagine, do you need the devil? Is it symbolic of what we need in this life? Like, do we need to see what's happening in Palestine in order to reassess the way we behave as a civilization? Do we need crime to get out of hand before we realize that law and order is important,
right,
and that we really need to figure out a way to stop crime at its root source? Do we really need something? Maybe that's the only way we learn. Maybe there's lottery winners. They don't do well, dude. They don't do well because they didn't learn.
Right.
They just got all this money and then they're doing blow and they're on a yacht and it's gone. Now it's gone. And now you're mad and everybody's mad at you and you didn't invest in the business with your uncle and everybody's pissed at you.
So you're asking, do we need the devil?
I wonder if you need a bad and a good. I wonder if you need something. I wonder if you need to see 200,000+ dead people and just have that number in your head and just try to picture what that looks like. I wonder if we need that
resistance
in order to realize, yes, that there's you don't grow without resistance. We're thinking of it as just plain, this is life. But we're in the middle of a process.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a process. Everyone understands this and no one thinks about it.
Right.
We are in the middle of this intellectually evolutionary process.
Yeah.
There's a thing going on where we're assuming that civilization is going to be better all the time, and we're always going to get better all the time, which is really interesting because no other animal does that. There's not another animal alive that says we only killed, 47 zebras this year. Next year, we're fucking cranking it up. We're going to be better and more efficient.
Yeah.
We want to be better at everything. We want to be better at our industry. We want to be better at fixing our infrastructure. We want to be better at housing.
Yeah.
We want to be better all the time. There's this constant push for progress.
Right.
And if you just step back and look at where it's going with this train wreck of AI happening at the same time that's going on, it's like, oh, we were fueling this.
Yeah.
We were fueling the takeover.
So they kind of set the stage here, and I'm going to sift through this. I am going to edit this a little bit more than usual because I think in the midst of the banter, something emerges, but I don't want the banter to distract us from at least the parts that I'm going to take out. Now, as I do that, I'm always conscious of the fact that I don't want to put words in Joe and Duncan's mouth. I want to respect the integrity of their original dialogue as you and I kind of engage with this second level dialogue. We're sort of taking their dialogue and building another dialogue off of it. In the sense, you can imagine yourself being there. What would you have said in this conversation? Of essentially, that's what I'm attempting to do here. And so the basic question, did God make the devil? Do we need the devil? It seems like a pretty funny question off the top, but it's actually very serious. As a biblical Christian, which I am, or at least I attempt to be as good as of a representation of that, knowing full well that my ideas, I hope, are continuing to be sharpened by you, by engaging in this medium, by the community that surrounds me. The fact that God permits the existence of the devil is actually a profound observation. And what it makes me think of, and what I hope to do as I go through this conversation, is rely on an idea that's actually from J.R.R. Tolkien, but I think I see it in Scripture as well. I think Tolkien got this idea from Scripture. And that is in the Silmarillion, when Tolkien envisions the creation of his cosmology for Middle-earth, God sings creation into existence. There's a song. So you can think of Genesis. In the beginning, God said, "Let there be light." You can think of John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word. And so Tolkien imagines that happening in a more lyrical or song form. And then what happens is there's an angel who begins to sing his own song. He's not interested in God's song. He wants to sing his own song about himself. He wants to make it about himself. And what God does is allows that song to go and then incorporates it into a new song. So God, with all supreme power and love and knowledge, takes the dissonance of those who are in rebellion and incorporates it into a more full song. That's the idea that I think is actually very profound in this question about whether or not we need the devil. Do we need resistance in order to push towards the good? Is that how we gain virtue? Is that where virtue comes in? There's a cultivating, there's a sense at which we need to cultivate virtue and wisdom. And his point about people who win the lottery, I actually think will come back towards the end of this conversation where they're talking about psychedelics and how maybe psychedelics are where divine revelation comes from. But I think in that is this seed, this idea of that, well, if you gained wisdom, if you gained revelation, but you didn't learn, you didn't go through the process, then what is it? Is it really the thing that you want? Or is it like winning the lottery, that there's almost like a self-destruct mechanism inherent within winning the lottery because virtue didn't come with it. You didn't struggle or strive to gain wealth in that way. It was just handed to you. And so it sort of turns on you. I think wisdom is the same way, or quote unquote wisdom. You think it's wisdom, but there's something that's there's a seed of its own self-destruction planted within it. And so as I think about the Bible story and how the Bible helps me make sense of the world, I don't see an evolution of humanity getting better. I do see sort of an entropic force that is at work in humanity. There's an evil or dark force. The Bible would call that sin, disobedience, that dissonant song that's not in harmony with the song that God is singing. And I think that's kind of the foundation or the underlying idea that I want to work with as this conversation continues. Because it does, the whole idea of the AI takeover, it's like there is going to be a choice, essentially, of what song are you going to sing? Are you going to be in harmony with kind of the world, the flesh, and the devil? I'm borrowing from scripture here. Or are you going to be in harmony with God, your creator? And ultimately, we find our rest and our peace and our hope and the love, and we'll talk about love, in harmony with our creator. It's not in ourselves. It's not in the world. It's in a person who is divine. I think that person is Jesus, but, I don't want to bury the lead here, so let's keep going.